All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second part of the summer internship series workshop. This is our midpoint reflection webinar. We're really excited to have you here this afternoon, taking the time out of your day to participate in this workshop. My name is Camille Hall. I am the Associate Director of Experiential Education at Beyond Barnard, and I'm joined by my two colleagues. I'll have them introduce themselves and then we'll take it from there.
Hi, I am Lindsay Granger Weaver. I am the Associate Director on the Advising and Programs team.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Zena Jones. I'm the Internship Program Coordinator at Beyond Barnard.
All right. So before we get in, well, just to give you a sense of the agenda, we are going to just do some brief welcome introductions, just to get a sense of where everybody is working, what internship you're at, and then also where are you with your internship. I believe all of you should be at your midpoint, but some of you may be getting towards the end, so we want to get a sense of that. Also, I'll do a brief recap of part one, and then we'll get into some reflection questions that I'll talk about in a little more detail. So for those of you who are in the room, I guess the easiest way to do this, I'll call out your name, and I'm gonna apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. And I'll just like you just to share where you are interning right now, and also where are you where are you right now in your internship? Okay, so I'm going to go in the order of what I see on my end, and I believe I see, let's see, Jade Thompson.
Yes, hi.
Hey, Jade.
Oh, thank you. Hi. I'm currently interning at Snapchat, and I'm just in my second week actually. So I attended the last session, and I don't want to miss this, so I'm gonna hold on to this information until I reach the midpoint of my internship. But thanks for hosting this.
Awesome, great. All right, moving down, I believe Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm interning at the New Jersey Attorney General's office, and I'm about halfway through the internship, so this is very good timing.
Awesome, welcome.
Thank you.
We have here Sophia.
Hi, I'm interning at a social services nonprofit in Manhattan remotely, and I have like 3 weeks left.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Hannah.
Hi there, I'm Hannah. I'm interning with a professor at Barnard doing computational bio research. I was supposed to do SRI, so this is the at-home equivalent, and I have about a month left.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hannah. Is there anyone else here that I may have missed? I don't believe so. All right, great. Well, it looks like we are a small group for right now, which is good because then we'll be able to really dig deeper into the questions. But before we do that, just a brief recap. I think one or two of you attended this session a couple weeks ago. But the first part one, we covered three main areas. We covered your to-do list, basically help you get familiarizing yourself with the internship. We talked about confirming expectations of your role, gain a sense of the logistics of your internship, especially during this time of virtual work, really gain a sense of the virtual culture of your organization, and how to show up and be present during a virtual, during this virtual work that we're all doing pretty much now. We also discussed things that you should be thinking about what type of skills that you want to develop for your internship. That consisted of like soft skills or various technical skills that you want to enhance or learn during this time. We discussed potential challenges that you may have to work through and different resources that you can tap into. We also talked about professional opportunities, even during this time of virtual work, professional development opportunities that you can tap into to gain, I guess, the most out of your internship. We also kind of closed out the discussion with talking about SMART goals. Specifically with SMART goals, you've heard the acronym before, goals that are specific, meaningful, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So those were the three main areas that we discussed, and participants also brought up some concerns that they may have been experiencing in their internship, such as how to create bounds, can't even talk to this afternoon, how to connect with their colleagues and their peers at the internship. So we talked about different ways to go about that virtually. For more details, you could definitely refer to the video because the first one was recorded as well. So you can refer to the video where you'll get more details on what was discussed. So that's basically a recap of part one. For today, part two, the midpoint part of this series, we're gonna walk you through some reflection questions that's gonna cover the positives and the challenges of your internship so far, any surprises that you are experiencing, something that you've learned about your job, something that you've learned about yourself, and additional professional development that you can tap into. So, we really just want to, we just wanted to create a space for you to have time to share and reflect on where you are right now. Obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and it's hard to have that time to just sit and be reflective on progress made, or challenges that you may want to work through. And we just really want to provide that space for you with your internships, because compared to those students who may have who did internships last summer, all of you are in a very unique position where you're working through an internship through a pandemic, and that's something that's very unique. And we just want to make sure that you have time to really reflect and help, and us being able to offer you some feedback. All right. So I'll pause there with that's the agenda, and then moving into questions. Let me see, make sure I didn't go back too far. Oh wait. Okay. All right, so let's start out with positives and negatives. What do you enjoy most about your summer internship so far? So we'll start out with that. I'll start off with positive. You're welcome to just unmute yourself and jump right in to share. We're hoping that those of you who are on this webinar, feel free to offer your feedback to your peers as well, so we can make this more of a dialogue. So I'll start out with, what do you enjoy most about your internship?
I think I'm Sophia. I think what I enjoy most about my internship is that it's like still happening, and I was worried that it wasn't going to happen. And it's great kind of experience with social work. I'm not sure if I want to go into social work in more the psychology route, but it's great to get like my feet wet in that career.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And you said that you're not sure that if you want to get into social work?
Yeah, it's a social work kind of internship working with seniors in Manhattan, but I'm thinking more of the psychology route.
Okay, okay. Anybody else would like to? Thank you for sharing that, Sophia. You definitely, from what it seems like, the internship has already been very beneficial to you because has indicated to you that you may not want to take the social work track, like you mentioned, more the psychology. So that is something
Mhm.
that you got out of from the internship so far.
Yeah.
Anybody in regards to things, or let's say it's like highlights of your internship so far?
For me, I'd say I enjoy most the people at the company who are just willing to answer questions or meet up with me. So, like part of the internship, I'm paired with a mentor, but everyone else around who aren't don't have the role of being my mentor are still willing to talk to me and help me learn. So I think that's something that I enjoy a lot.
Thank you for sharing that, Jade. Yeah, definitely you want to foster those relationships that you are developing during this time. Um, the fact that they are willing to share and provide mentorship is really important to making sure that your internship is productive, and those relationships can lead to other opportunities after the opportunity you have now. So it's great that you're fostering those relationships. Anyone else? Oops. If not, then I will put out this. Oh, I'm going back. All right. Now I'll ask, like, what has been the most difficult aspect of your internship so far? Or any challenges?
So for my internship, it was supposed to be a lot of like shadowing and gaining exposure by watching like attorneys in court. And because that's not such an aspect of the internship anymore, just like the level of assignments that I get aren't, it's hard to connect with the other attorneys and also have that much work. So that's definitely been difficult given like the virtual nature of the internship.
And is that something that you've had opportunity you're concerned with, like a supervisor, or are there other ways to possibly, I don't know if there's other ways to have more connection with the attorney?
Yeah, I reached out to the supervisor, and he basically he's given me more assignments than I normally would get, but he was honest, and he's like, normally this college student internship, you would mainly spend like going to court, but that's not really an option. So it's just like a very different internship than it would have been in person, but it's still really great. It's just been a difficult aspect virtually.
Okay. And question, Stephanie, what is something that makes it great for you that stands out?
We have meetings about every day. We'll have like one meeting of an attorney coming in and saying like what area of the office they specialize in and how they kind of research cases and prosecute people. So it's been as someone who wants to be a lawyer but has never like gotten that exposure, it's definitely been like very enlightening and interesting to hear about. So that's kind of made up for the lack of being able to see like firsthand in person. But so I've really enjoyed that. So I've enjoyed the internship overall. That's just been an aspect that has made it different.
Got it. Okay.
For me, I think the hardest thing is just the fact that I can't talk to my professor as much, because if I was in the lab, I guess, and had an issue with something I was working on, I would immediately be able to ask her and get the answer. But now it's just much slower, so the work kind of takes a bit longer just because there is that. If I have like a quick question, I mostly would like email her, even though we do have in-person meetings, but it just, I guess, makes things a bit slower.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up and ask if you have scheduled any in-person meetings, but you have. I think definitely during, with the remote work, something that I've had to learn is definitely patience, because things do slow down when you can't, let's say walk down the hall, or just go next door, or go across the street to follow up with a question with someone. It does make things a lot more difficult. So definitely patience is something that I think is something that we all have to learn on how to navigate during this virtual work. Any other challenges or difficult aspects of the internship so far from anyone else? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what it is.
For me, I think it's sort of just feeling secure. I think right now, especially with it being remote, I'm constantly thinking about whether I'm making the right impression or if I'm doing everything that I should to meet everyone or set myself up to be successful in the internship. And it's less about the internship that's difficult and more about my mindset. Thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Something that we mentioned at the first part of the series, someone offered about taking notes of like the progress that you've made, accomplishments, tasks that you've accomplished. Is that something that you've tried on your end to do, just to kind of get a sense of, you know, the work that you've done and how you've contributed so far?
Yeah, so I have like a journal about like what I learned, who I met, you know, what projects I'm working on, etc. But it's less about individually what I'm doing and like what I'm doing in comparison to other interns who may be doing more.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, go ahead.
It may be useful to explicitly ask your supervisor how they're measuring the success of this internship and to see how on track you are with their targets, because there is a good chance that you're holding yourself to a higher standard than what's expected. And often just in talking to employers during this time and how they evaluate their interns for either just the programs or even for like future offers or future opportunities, is that they're giving them a lot of grace and a lot of leeway and understanding about the situation. And so it could be good to just have that conversation, if you haven't already, to make sure that you're on the same page with your supervisor on like what you're doing, asking for improvement or asking for points and feedback. Because I mean, for one, that'll help you with kind of dealing with this security issue that you have, but it'll also show them that you're taking it seriously and taking initiative and that you really want to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other body want to talk about challenges, difficult aspects? Before we move on, I believe there's somebody that signed in. If you could just introduce yourself and state where you're working and where are you right now in your internship, that'd be great. I believe that's Mia or Maya.
My name's Mia.
Hey.
I'm based in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I currently have an internship with the Denisova Lab at Columbia Med Center. It's obviously like online, just working on some reviews that they're trying to get out within the month. So just like a lot of little tasks like article searching, you know, looking up different parts of the review, helping format tables and supplements and things like that.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next slide. Okay. And Zena, can you pass this on to you, this slide here? The next two slides?
Okay, sure. For this segment, we want to talk about something that may have surprised you at your internship. Specifically, what did you least expect going into your internship experience? I know for many of you, you probably have a common answer, but we would love to get any feedback as to anything that may have surprised you or something that was unexpected. So feel free to unmute yourself and share your experience.
I feel like everyone's trying to think of something other than it's remote.
I can share something. One of the things that surprised me was I mentioned this last time of like how I was trying to arrange Zooms with the other interns because they expressed interest to my supervisor that they wanted to also like meet up and have outside time to get to know one another. And I guess I was just surprised that I like hosted probably I would say tried to host four, and only the two interns that I work closely with came. So I'm surprised by like the lack of response in that.
Yeah, that could be tough. Try to get people together in this type of setting. It's
Yeah.
hard to get people together, and especially virtually, it's just, or just on a phone call, it's just a little tough. But yeah, I think for the most part, we're all experiencing that. So you're not alone. Anyone else want to share? Anything unexpected? Okay. Well, feel free to chime in if you think of anything. I know this whole pandemic is probably threw us all for a loop. So I think that's probably we all probably least expected any of this. So well, thanks for sharing. And so we'll go to the next question. If you've experienced the least expected thing happen in your internship experience, what lessons have you learned from that experience? Anybody want to talk about anything that you've learned about anything that was unexpectedly happening at your internship? Okay.
There you go. Something that I didn't expect is,
I guess that's something that.
hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Is how chill everyone is. I think we all expect, or like going in, I expected everyone to come in with, I don't know, like not a suit and tie, but like dressed up, and it's always like common advice to show up to everything early, especially your meetings, show up 10 or 5 minutes early. And I think I've learned that people are more human than we expect, or than I expected. And as you guys were saying, don't have maybe as high expectations as I would anticipate.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing, Jay. That's a good point. I think that a lot of this has taught us, I know from me personally, that, just to be as human as possible and just to be as real as possible. You want to do your best, and you want to make sure that you're showing up as professional as possible. But I think this experience has definitely humbled a lot of us and has just made us more human and more personable. So don't be afraid to show up just as you are, and just be you in the whole process and in the whole experience. So thanks for sharing that, Jade. Anyone else want to chime in with anything that you've learned from anything unexpected?
For me, I think something that I'm still learning is how to, I guess, build a relationship with your mentor or professor remotely, and just like trying to have just trying to be in communication a lot so that she knows what my progress is and knows what I'm working on the days that we don't talk in person. But I guess even when we do talk in person, it's only for about an hour. So it's not quite the same thing as working closely 8 hours a day every day. So just trying to learn, I guess, how to just build that relationship with her.
That's extremely important. Thanks for sharing that, Hannah. Anyone else want to talk about anything that they've learned?
I think to Hannah's point, one thing that may be helpful in that is to go into those, I mean, I don't know if you already do this, but having like explicit agenda points that are both updating on the progress that you're making on the task at hand, but also updates about you. Just a lot of what's missing in a virtual environment, especially with these like quick hits of conversation, is that connection piece of like, we're all humans. And so outside of this work, what else are you doing? What else are you into? How is this work impacting maybe like the goals that you have for yourself? Because as someone in a mentor, as the mentor in the mentor relationship, they may want to be maybe thinking about ways that they can help you out. And so thinking of different next steps for you. And so it may be good to just start supplying those regularly so that you're building up both this rapport in terms of the work that you're doing, but also just like the relationship in general.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide and talk about something that you've learned about the job. Specifically, how would you describe the work culture at your internship site? So what does that look like? What does the culture look like? What, especially in this type of vibe, what kind of culture, what kinds of things, what does your internship specifically look like at this point? If anyone wants to chime in.
And we understand this one can be a little difficult because it's like, it's not like physical, you're physically showing up to a spot. It's all virtual. So like on our end, we've had to adapt to the virtual culture of Beyond Barnard because we're no longer at the office physically and had to, build this virtual culture of how do we communicate with each other when we're having our staff meetings, how do we work together as groups, how do we try to, find time to just, I guess, socialize as colleagues. So, just to give you a sense of that, it's something that we are also navigating as well. So I don't know how it is for all of you on your end, but.
Yeah, I think for those who figured out their work culture, perhaps give some tips for folks who are still trying to understand how to do that in this environment, because it is quite the challenge, even especially if you're in an internship that could potentially lead to something full-time or lead to future opportunities, to understand if that'll be a right fit for you, given that you're not really in an office interacting with people.
I know someone mentioned a little earlier, I apologize, I can't remember who it was, but I know they said that they were surprised that the environment or the culture was so chill and that, no one was showing up, no one particularly had to show up with a business suit or some type of business casual wear. Everyone was kind of basically human and regular and just chilled out, and that's part of the culture at your internship. If that's something that maybe that's what your culture looks like. That's sort of an example of what that means. So if it's something that looks like, you know, everyone is just kind of laid back, anything like that, feel free to share.
Yeah, that was me who said that.
Jade, okay.
So, yeah, I think the way to, I guess, discern what the company culture is like is, you know, doing the research of what your company puts online as their company culture, whether they value, I don't know, determination or like creativity or collaboration, and then having that in your mind as you observe how current employees interact in this space. Do you actually see that showing forth in the way that people interact with each other or even interact with you? And then 100% just asking people, like, how do you see this like pillar of the business or the pillar of your company culture? How do you see that play out in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day work life? I think those are helpful things that I've done so far.
Those are extremely helpful. Thank you, Jade.
Sure.
Okay, so we can talk about what insights into the job have you gained so far from your experience. So what types of things have you learned? Like Jade said, what kinds of things have you taken away so far from your internship? Well, what I want to ask is everyone at their midpoint at their internship right now? I know someone mentioned that they had about 3 weeks left.
Yes, I mentioned that I have 3 weeks left.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still have about a month left as well.
Okay. Okay. So what kinds of things have, okay, someone said they're only 2 weeks in from JD. So what kinds of things have you kind of learned right now where you are so far?
For me, it's mostly been just like the hard skills. Like I'm learning how to code for the first time, and I've learned surprisingly a lot, considering that it's mostly from home.
That's dope.
And for me, I've learned, I guess, some more interpersonal skills. I've been doing a lot of calls every day. I probably call around 25 to 30 people a day, just to check in. And they're all older adults, so I mostly just check in with them. I think I realized that although I don't maybe want to go into social work, I think I might want to work with the older population and, you know, give value to their lives. So that's something I've learned career-wise.
That's cool. Okay. Anyone else have any valuable insights that they've taken away from their internship so far? Okay.
I guess if not, we'll just move on to the next slide.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so moving on to the next one. Let's see.
Yeah, so this part, we're just going to think a little bit more about yourself in relation to your experience. A lot of you have already kind of touched on your answers to what you've gained in terms of thinking about your career goals, thinking about, you know, what things you feel like you're good at, what things you feel like you may not be, or maybe good at but don't want to do, which is always an important skill set to figure out the things that like you can do but hate, because so often that first job is a lot of can do but hate, and so trying to minimize that would be useful. So in kind of taking these two questions collectively, what are some things that some I guess career life lessons, or taking this as a step in career exploration, certain things that this experience has taught you, both skills wise but also in terms of just mindset and beliefs about yourself, and beliefs about who the professional that you'd like to be at some point. What are some of those types of things that folks have learned?
I'll go. For me, since I'm still pretty early, I haven't really been on many projects so far. It's mostly been like training and onboarding, so and just like getting situated with meeting other people. So I definitely say from trainings, I learned that I'm not good in a remote environment at all. And definitely I prefer, like, I learned about my learning style that I prefer to have more one-on-one learning and like hands-on rather than like watching a seminar or a video about how to do something. Like watching that and then having someone explain it after is like really helpful for me. And I think that's something that I've learned just so far.
Yeah, and that's really helpful because that's something that can then guide you moving forward and looking at kind of your next steps. So things that give you that human interaction, and hopefully someday in the after times we'll be able to have human interaction again. But and knowing that like that's something that you learn best in those sorts of environments is really good for both continuing on in college and then afterwards. Are there other things that folks have learned about themselves in relation to career goals or even just like personal style things?
I guess I learned how I know in like a academic environment, I always enjoyed researching a lot and like writing papers, but then applying that to like my internship now, I'll like have like the lowest rung of research for an assignment, but I still really enjoy going through the footage or whatever and kind of like making a spreadsheet or something off of that. So I really enjoy that. So like applying that later in my career could be really cool.
Yeah, it's always great to validate what you feel like you've already known about yourself. And that sounds like that sort of situation. So all these things are helpful. And so for folks who are at this or haven't really thought about it yet, it's good to think about and kind of assess your situation and assess what you've learned, what you've gained, because even if you don't enjoy your experience, knowing why you don't enjoy it is definitely a point of knowledge that you can then hopefully seek to avoid similar situations in the future. So we can move on to our final question, which is something that you haven't done yet that you hope to do by the end of the internship. And so all of you are at different points. If you're like Jade and have been there for 2 weeks, then there may be a lot of things that you hope to do by the end. But if you're just a week or two away from ending, it may be a little bit wish listy to think of. But you can think about some skills that you'd like to sharpen or some of these new things you're learning that you'd like to get more exposure to. So if anybody wants to share something that they want to get better at or something that you want to just really experience more of during the remaining time in your internship.
For me, the project that I'm working on now is going to be published in a journal article soon, like probably by the end of the summer. And so far I've been working mostly on like building data sets, that aspect of it, and I haven't really gotten into much of the actual article writing or making figures for the article, anything like that. So I'm looking forward now for this last part of my internship to be focused more on the actual paper that's going to be put out, now that we've gotten progress with the actual figures and data.
Great. That sounds like a really, really worthwhile skill set to hone. Is this something that you're interested in doing as a career?
Yeah, I'm really interested in research, and I'm glad that for this internship, it's really data analysis heavy as opposed to lab research, like actual bench work, because I feel like now that I have these data analytics skills, I can apply that to any other field that I might decide to go into.
Yeah, data analytics is something that will be useful anywhere. So that's great that you're honing that skill set, and also it's something that you enjoy doing. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to share something that you'd like to get better at, or something that you just want to try out during this time? Oh, is someone going to go?
Oh, I was going to.
Okay.
I was thinking a bit about what you guys said last time about mixing like the hard skills with soft skills. So I'm working with advertising and sales. So one like hard skill that I'd want to learn by the end is like not mastering, but being fairly good at Salesforce, and then just like analyzing a portfolio and seeing what, like pinpoint the areas that make a successful advertising campaign. And then I guess on the soft skills side, building connections and like maintaining those relationships in a way that doesn't necessarily seem forced, but seems like true friendship or mentorship, etc.
Yeah, those are definitely great goals. I think it's good too, as you look at your situation and look at your particular internship, and also where it fits and where you see your career so far, or where you see your career going at this point. To break it down into like hard skills, soft skills, and things, and figuring out too like the relationships piece, because that's really huge, and starting to build up a network of folks now who know what you're into, who can potentially connect you to other people and opportunities down the road it's never going to be a waste of time to have people in your corner. So those are great things to think about no matter where you are. And even if you're doing something that you don't know if you necessarily like it, everybody knows people doing other things. And so if you build up just a professional relationship of someone who knows that you're good at what you do and knows that you are someone that they wouldn't mind vouching for to someone that they know, then that's another way to get more insights into other things that you may not be directly exposed to right now. So working on those relationships is always a great thing, especially when you are at a point where you may not necessarily need to call on them. So it doesn't feel as like skeevy to talk to people, because they don't feel like you're gonna then a week later say, give me an internship, give me a job. Those are my career advisor hat 2 cents. Anyone else want to share something about this that you're hoping to do, something you're hoping to accomplish in the next few weeks? Well, all right then. Let's move on to our final thank you slide. So this is all of our information. Email us if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about these things further. Available on Handshake for appointments. And yeah, Camille, you want to close it out?
Yeah, thank you all for joining us and participating. I know we asked some very thought-provoking questions. Some of these questions We encourage you to think about it a little bit more in your free time, or, when you do have a moment. And like Lindsay said, if there are some things that you want to talk about in more detail, feel free to schedule appointments with us, with other members of the team on Handshake. And make note that we are having our third and last part of the series on July 30th. That's a couple weeks from now at 1 p.m. And that's where we'll discuss, ending your internship on a strong note, and things that you may want to consider on how to build from what you learned this summer. Okay, so that's about it. All right. Well, until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.